Thank you everyone for checking out this video. In this video, we're going to continue on in our how to set up a basic load balancer in Azure setup. We're going to go ahead and set up our virtual machines to connect to our load balancer, and we're going to set up our health probes and our backend storage, our backend instances where traffic is going to go to. And you heard me correctly when I said virtual machines, and because we have two, so off screen, off cam, I went ahead and I set up 3 additional virtual machines, 2 in a similar setup as what we did in the first video, and 2 in a second setup, which is LEN 3 and 4, and LEN 1 and 2 has been set up the same. What we're gonna do before we and I'm just doing this for just to show you why there's some differences when setting this up on the basic. So let's go ahead and go to our load balancer. We're going to first create our health probes, which the health probe is basically our health checks on the backend instances. So we're going to set up basically, and what a health probe is, it basically checks by a fixed value how many times have the instance failed in a certain amount of time, and after a certain amount of checks, it basically tells the load balancer, hey, do not use this instance anymore. In this case, we have the interval set to 5 seconds by default. So for every 10 seconds, if there's 2 failures in 10 seconds, basically Azure the health check probe would tell the load balancer, hey, do not use this instance anymore. And it's checking the root path of the instance over port 80. So right now, I want to increase this interval to 10. So for every 20 seconds, if there's 2 failures every 20 seconds, Azure would then tell the instance, no, you can't. You will tell the instance, will basically not use an instance, a virtual machine, to pass traffic to. So we're gonna go ahead and hit add. And Azure sometimes take a while with setting this up, but in some cases it does. Sometimes it does go by fast. In this case, hopefully it goes by fast, and it did. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set up our backend pool. We're gonna hit add, and we're gonna do BE test, and we're gonna go ahead and select our network group, not network group, our virtual network. We're gonna set our virtual machines because we do not have a scale set connected, and we're gonna click add here, and we see our virtual machines right here. And if you select this box right here, we're supposed to select everything. It does not do it because from Azure's perspective, these are all in different availability sets. And think of availability sets as a grouping. And if I select LEN 1, which is the one that we've created in the previous video, it will basically show on all the rest that these are all in different availability sets. Same thing for 2, even though 2 was set up the same way as LEN 1, it's going to say the same thing. However, if we select LEN 3 and 4, it just only says the top 2, LEN 1 and 2, are part of a different availability set. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and select our LEN 1. We're going to hit add, and we're going to hit add the backend pool. And we're going to come back. I'm going to change it later on to the other 2 instances, so we could do some further testing. But this is pretty much how we're going to be how we check to make sure that the instance is part of this how we make sure that the instance is part of a backend pool for a load balancer. So let's give it a moment. And there we go. And the last thing we need to do is set up our load balancer rules. And we need to add one. All right, so we're going to set in we're going to call this the LBR. We're going to checking over port. We're checking over IPv4. We're going to select our front end IP address, which we set up in the previous video. We're going to select our backend pool, which we just created. And we're checking over TCP. And we're looking over port 80. And we're going to check the backend instances over port 80. And we're going to go ahead and select our health probe. Remember that health probe is going to check every 20 seconds. If there's 2 failures in every 20 seconds, that means it's going to go ahead and make the instances. It's basically going to tell Azure, hey, don't use this instance. But we only have one, so it's not really much to check. Pretty much is an outage if that instance goes down. And this is where you set up your sticky sessions. Um, and we're going to leave that as default as none, and we're going to leave floating IPs also as disabled for right now. We're going to go ahead and hit add. Oh, forgot LBR test rule. All right, there we go. And we click add. All right, so Azure's now adding our rule, our load balancing rule. Just waiting for it to finish. All right, there we go. So our load balance rule is set. Now you go to our IP, to our front end IP. You can take this IP address right here, hit copy, and open up a new tab, and give it a moment. And you see that now we are coming across to our Linux machine. This is our Lin1 machine, same as this one. Refresh, boom, we're there. All right, so now if we wanted to, now let's go ahead and check. Let's go and check add our 2 instances that are part of an availability set. Now, I can go into backend pools. If I go in and add another pool while this one's here, it's not going to allow me to add it because this instance here is part of a different availability set. And if I go in, I go ahead and try to select it. If I go here, hit add, it's still going to say these instances are part of a different availability set. So it's not going to allow that. So Azure is pretty smart in handling those type of situations. So let's go ahead and go back into our load balancer. Go to backend pools. We have to delete the backend pool that we had previously. Give it a second. Ooh, I think I deleted the rule. Hopefully I didn't delete the rule too. Well, if we get delete the rule, we can set it back up though. That's no problem. All right, so our availability set, our backend pool has been deleted. Let's go and add a new one. This time we're going to add our VE test back. Select our virtual network one more time. Select virtual machines. Hit add, and we're going to select our VM3 and 4. We'll add them. We hit add. And like I said, the reason why these two are we're able to select both of these 2 instances is because, like I said, they're part of something called an availability set, where Azure sees these 2 as a HA pair. So once the new backend pool is set up, we had to go back into our load balancing rules and set it up that we're going to be using this backend pool. But once and you see we have 2 instances here instead of just one, like we had the first time. But yep, it did go ahead and delete our rule. So let's go ahead and add our load balancer rule back. So we need to include LBR test rule. And we're going to select our front end IP. We're going to select our backend pool. We're going to keep it TCP. We're going to do port 80 again, and select our health probe. And we're going to leave everything else default. Add. right, just taking a moment to add it. All right, so now we have our rule set up. Now we go back here. If we refresh, you see now the name went to Lin4. If you wait a moment and then refresh again, it says Lin3. And you see that's how the load balancer is working. It's distributing traffic evenly across both instances. So it's going to probably go to 4 eventually. If I keep refreshing here, just wait a moment and then come back and refresh again, it goes to VM4. So now that's pretty much it regarding the load balancers. Because regarding this video series on the basic load balancer. But once again, like I said, the reason why those two are able to connect, the only reason we was able to add these two is because something called an availability set. An availability set, like I said, is a grouping. It's a group. So all I did was I just created a availability set. Now let's go over that with you very quickly. Just type in on Azure availability set and just go and create and just give it your availability sets information. Basically, just plug in your resource group, give it a name, availability set test2, and just leave everything default. Go to advanced. You now don't have a placement group, don't worry about that, and leave everything pretty much the same. And once it passes, go ahead and create it. You don't get charged for having availability sets. You don't get charged for it. You just get charged for the virtual machines that are inside of it. So, and then how you add a virtual machine to an availability set, because it doesn't take long to deploy it. All you do is go to virtual machines. When you create a virtual machine, you do your resource group, do everything like you did before. And the only difference is right here where it says availability options. You click here, and then you go to availability set. There's not a scale set, availability set. And all you do is click here, select, and then select your availability set, and then just go ahead and now continue the rest of the configuration of the virtual machine the same like you usually would. Going here, selecting your keys and inbound ports and things like that, and you'll be good to go. I'm not going to go ahead and deploy this one, but just wanted to make sure that we are all on the same page regarding that. All right, so now, like I said, that's it for this video. I'm going to go through the process of cleaning up everything, so I'm not getting charged a huge bill for this. So let's go ahead and just get rid of a few things. I'll get rid of the virtual machines for one. Get rid of the. All right, so I need to go and have to filter. I'm really going to have to filter this out. There's a lot of things there. So I'm going to do the 4 virtual machines, public IP addresses, and that's about it. I think that's it. Because once I delete the virtual machines, it's automatically going to go ahead and try to get rid of their it's going to go ahead and try. It's going to automatically get rid of the all the everything with it. So let's go ahead and go here, hit yes. Actually, no, I forgot. It doesn't do that while here. You got to go to each instance individually, hit delete, and what it does, it deletes the corresponding resources that goes with it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these, hit yes, check this off, and boom, there you go. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go straight down the line and do all of these. I'm not going to let you sit here and watch me do that. So that's pretty much it for this series on the basic load balancer. In the next video, we'll start working on how to set up a standard load balancer, which is pretty much the same process. Just that in this one we'll be able to do a whole lot more. We're going to just do a little bit more than we did in this video. We're going to set up a scale set so I can show you the differences between a scale set and availability set. And other than that, I will see you in that video. All right. Thank you for checking this. Thank you for watching the series. I will see you in the next video. All right. Peace.